2 wins are good. Yeah, we like weeks like that. So first, the Milwaukee game. I mean, they're all close, right? I mean, I've been saying that all along, but Milwaukee game, I thought our kids really came to play. I thought they were focused. I thought we executed well defensively. We were in tons of foul trouble in that game, and we used all kinds of different combinations that we hadn't seen before, we hadn't used before. We were using timeouts to figure out how we could run a 5 at the 3 spot, and how we could, what offenses we could run that our 3 freshmen would know more than one position, because they typically have learned one position. It made inbounds plays and half-court sets a challenge. We had to run just our general motion offense rather than running any type of sets, because everybody was out of position while we kind of worked through that foul trouble time. And that was like 7 minutes to go in the first half. I mean, we had a lot of time to manage. We had a nice lead going into that. That lead got cut down substantially, but we still maintained enough, I think we had maybe a 6 or 7 point lead at halftime. And then coming back, there was a sense of relief, when we brought our regular lineup back in, and just sort of a sense of getting back into the flow of things. And I don't think there was anybody who was frustrated with it. I think everybody felt like, wow, there's a lot of fouls being called and so on and so forth, but there was not a sense of maturity in our team in knowing that, okay, this is the situation we're in. We've dealt with that in so many ways, with injuries, with fouls. This is the situation we're in. This is who we have playing which positions, and just do your best. And they help each other from the bench, and they talk each other through it at timeouts, and they just try to figure it out. And if there's one thing I can say about this team, is they're resilient. They just accept things as they come, and they adapt and adjust to them on the fly. And that showed in the Milwaukee game. Then we went to Oakland, and Oakland playing at their place. And last year we didn't beat Oakland. We had 2 close games against them, and we didn't beat them. And those are both games that our kids, I think, really felt like they wish they could have had. So going up there, I think there was a sense of, this is sort of unfinished business, and they wanted to make a statement. We're a year older, and the core of our team is returned. We have the majority of the minutes in the starting lineup returning. So I think they felt like we should have an edge here. And again, it was a bit of a back and forth game, but again, there was sort of just I don't know, it's like, I don't want to call it a peace, because we feel intense during that time, but we also, everyone seems to keep their head and really just trudge through those tight spots in the games. And we missed a couple of free throws that would have really kind of sealed the deal, and then ended up having to go down and get stops. And one of the players that really played great down the stretch was Alexis Eccles. I mean, she got a big block on a defensive stop that we needed, and she hit some free throws for us, and she just rebounded the heck out of the ball the entire game. So really played well for us.
With Lex, is there some games where she doesn't get in the foul trouble, and then other games where they come quick and they come in a hurry? Is that kind of frustrating, knowing, kind of not knowing how? A lot of it depends upon how officials call a game, but it's kind of frustrating just to know or not know how that game's going to go with her in it.
Do you remember the games when she wasn't in foul trouble? Because I'm having trouble remembering those games. No, she's had a couple.
Yeah.
A couple, and boy, she makes an impact in those games.
Right.
She really does. And those are the games you're going to see, the double-doubles out of her, where she doesn't, when she gets in quick foul trouble, she becomes tentative and, and maybe just not sure what to go for and what not to go for. Her instinct is to go for everything that's within her reach. And, talking a lot about, do you have position or don't you? And if you don't have position, you need to, lay off that rebound attempt or what have you. Because she's going to get some aggressive fouls, but there's a few in there I think we can eliminate, where she's trying to poke the ball out from behind or hanging around after a rebound, or, where she just doesn't need to draw any type of contact. So, Lex is in her first full year of playing games for us. She didn't play a single game for Cleveland State until this year. Yes, she spent a year at Drake and a year practicing with us, but in uniform, in our system, playing in games. This is her first full year. So she's, in some respects, a freshman to us, but yet she's just a sophomore eligibility-wise. You would expect some, up and down with her consistency. The kids don't typically get really very consistent until they're juniors. And so, but what I'm seeing about her, with her that's very encouraging, is that she has big games. And those big games don't always come until the kids are older. When you see those type of big games this early in their career with your program, you know that eventually when they can figure out the consistency, that they're going to be a major, major part of what we're doing. And that's what we're grooming her for. We're trying to give her an opportunity without having to take on all the responsibility. She's got 3 seniors on this team that are willing and able to shoulder the majority of the load. Lex can work this out, through her ups and downs during this year, because next year she needs to show us consistency and give us the same thing, game in and game out. And she's showing signs of that, and she's getting more and more comfortable out there and growing, and that's all you can ask for.
I thought against Milwaukee, Krishna Butler gave you a really good effort that night, because she had over 20 minutes, and with the large amount of fouls in that game, she really came in and gave you a lot of good minutes.
She did. She hit a couple shots for us. The one, she hit a 3 in the corner right away when she went in, and then really at a crunch time when the game was, every possession was so critical. She just took a pull-up jumper in the gap of their zone with lots of confidence and knocked that down. It was a big, big shot for us. And, seeing her do that, she's obviously improved so much since last year. She spent so much time, more time than anybody, I think I said that earlier, than anybody that I maybe ever had as far as putting in time in the off season. And so she's prepared herself for a situation like this. And, at the beginning of the year, I don't know if she knew if she was going to get any of those opportunities. And then with all of the injuries, she's put in a position a number of nights where she's got to really, make impact and be a factor for us. And she continuously steps in and hits a big shot for us, and makes a big play. And defensively, she's very good. She works very hard on defense. On the ball defense is, one of her strengths.
Alyssa Copley has also been getting more consistent minutes. What have you seen that has, allowed her to be on the court, every game and giving you some minutes?
Well, it's really, it's been sort of a evaluation time for me. Every practice goes that way with Alyssa, with Kayla Peterson, with Sade Bosley. Those 3, they all represent that 5 position for us, and we're looking, and we need some people who can give us some minutes at those spots. We've been using, in some respects, we've been using Allison Mitchell to play the 4 for us and moving Imani. If Lex is in foul trouble, moving Imani over to the 5. And you're small at that point, but then you've got 4 shooters around 1. It gives Imani a chance to play inside some. But in other respects, that's sort of a disadvantage because we're so small then inside. So we have got to select one of those 3, and we base it on, how they practice that week. And Alyssa has really consistently been the strongest in the last probably 5 weeks, since Christmas, I would say. So that's I mean, that's really what got her in this position. The other things that Alyssa brings to the table for us is Alyssa has a very high basketball IQ. In the beginning, her body wasn't always doing what we needed it to do, but her mind, she always, you know, it was like as soon as she made the mistake, she would say, "That's my help," and yes, that's your help. Or, you know, during scout, she listens during the, you know, in the film room. She's very intelligent. She can look at a play on a board. She can look at a play on film, and then when we walk out onto the court, she already has applied it to the, you know. And some people don't learn that way. Some people, when they get out to the court, they've seen it on the board, they've seen it in film. They get out to the court, and we say, "Here's the ball screen we were talking about. What are we going to do?" And they're like, "What are we going to do?" And Alyssa's like, "This is the one we're going through, getting through the middle. You know, this one we're going over the top," and she's very, very in tune with the breakdown of the game. So I don't worry about her. You know, she's going to make some mistakes, but I don't worry about her not knowing, you know, just knowing that this is where she's supposed to be or that is what she's supposed to be doing. Rarely does she make the same mistake twice. So from that perspective, I'm feeling a level of comfort putting her in the game, and she has great hands. She needs to get better at finishing around the basket, but she has great hands, and so the girls are giving her the ball inside. She can collect it and, you know, get a look or get to the foul line. She had a really nice game for us against Oakland. First half, she was really aggressive with the ball, got a couple of free throws, made both of her free throws, you know, which has sort of been a struggle for her at the free throw line. And then in the second half, they stepped up the pressure, and she was on the floor, and they decided to back off of her and put pressure on everybody else and not let her pass the ball. And she just saw the gap and drove it to the basket and laid it in. And you know, for a freshman to take on, it was at a critical time in the game too. So many would be hesitant to take on the responsibility of driving at that time of the game and trying to make the play, but she did. And so I think she's getting a lot of support from the rest of the players. And, you know, like with any freshman in these type of circumstances, they have their good days and their bad days. And that's why, you know, at times you'll see, we'll give Alyssa a try. She'll be the first one that gets in. And then if she isn't playing very well, then we'll, you know, give another one a try. I mean, against Milwaukee, we had all of them.
Three of them,
yeah, we used all three of them. And so we're just going to continue to do that because we know that on some nights one of them will be better than another. So that's sort of the nature of the beast when they're young, you know, and haven't had a lot of experience.
This will be the geographic midpoint of the conference season. Are there any one or two things about, and you may have alluded to this in that previous answer to Joe's question, but are there any one or two things that you're particularly pleased about? That maybe are pleasant surprises. Let me rephrase that.
So yeah, when we face UIC tomorrow, that'll be the end of the first round of the conference season. And you know, we have had a lot of aspirations for this season. This has been coming into this year, this was a season that we felt a lot of hope for. And with the injuries that we had a lot of, you know, sit-down conversations with our team talking about how does this change things. And it doesn't need to change necessarily our goals and our, you know, drive and our aspirations for the season, but what it changes, we couldn't just let it go. I mean, there are 4 kids in our top 8 rotation who are done for the season. So we had to address the fact that means bigger roles for pretty much everyone, and that the seniors needed to have more leadership and shoulder more of the weight, and, you know, play more minutes, and they needed to be teachers as well as upperclassmen and leaders. They needed to be patient and help bring the other kids along, the kids with less game experience. And I would say that in the midst of all of these injuries, that's what I'm most pleased with is, and that happened early, it did happen prior to the conference season, but what you're seeing is the growth that's coming out of those injuries and the type of kids that we have. It's really, their character is really showing, and I would say I'm most pleased with their character And, you know, as a basketball coach, you want to, you know, you guys probably want to hear me say the wins or the losses or what am I most concerned about. But this group has come so far, maybe farther than any group I've ever had. And their character in times when there has been difficulty or struggle, I think it's really defining them. And I think they're embracing it. I think they're really saying, look, this is who we are, and let's run with this. So I would say, number one, I'm most pleased with the character and resiliency that I've seen them show throughout the first part of this conference season. I don't think they've ever lost focus on the goal. I think that they know if they continue to grow, and we've had some growing moments, like we played at Youngstown that was not where we hoped to be at the end of that game. And I think they left that game with a real perspective on what needs to happen if we still have the same aspirations that we had at the beginning of the year. So I would say that is one. The other thing I would say, and this is our overall, these are our overall statistics. Are our conference statistics on here as well? Okay. I think, I'm going to look this up before I say it, but I think that we've had some substantial growth in our defensive abilities and our defensive maybe dedication. You know, we're giving up 71 points per game overall, but prior to our conference season, that was probably closer to 75. Now we're giving up 67, 68 points a game. I think that we've made a step defensively. I think that we are battling more. I think that we are understanding who needs to be where and when. And I think when there are defensive breakdowns, they're communicating out on the floor about, this is where you're supposed to be, that was your help. You know, next time they run this play, this is how we're, you know. And I'll walk into a huddle and say, look, you're getting hit on the back screen and you didn't switch it. And they're like, we talked about it. You know, they're very aware at this point, and you would expect them to be, of all. I mean, nobody's running anything we have not seen before, either this year or prior years. So, you know, our upperclassmen are really, I think, pushing for more defensive consistency, and I'm seeing some growth in that area. So those would be the two things that I would say I've seen in the first half of the conference.
What about UIC?
Yeah, UIC, you know, had a lot of success last year, probably their most successful year ever, and they have a really good player who was just a sophomore last year, redshirt sophomore, Ravonna Campbell, one of the best in our league. Really versatile, 6'3" kid who can shoot it, can drive it, can post up, and is averaging in conference 20 points and 16 rebounds a game. Just a monster stat line. And she's surrounded by a lot of really athletic teammates. That's sort of UIC's niche, is that they're very, very athletic. The challenge with UIC for us, and what I've seen around the league when teams have struggled with them or teams have been successful with them, is that they change their defenses every possession, and it's not really necessarily a make or a miss, you know. But they're going to play a man, they're going to play a trapping man, and they'll trap ball screens. They're going to play a sort of a 2-1-2 zone with trapping in the corners. They're going to play the buzz defense, which is a half-court, stretched-out trapping defense. They're going to play a full-court man-to-man press and a full-court zone press. And it will just change. And so you have to really rely on your ability to adjust, you know, midstream. And, you know, you don't have enough timeouts to settle in every time and be like, okay, this is what this is, we need to run this against it, you know. And we'll rely very heavily on our senior leadership to recognize, to know what it is we're going to do against this, and to be really clear about what it is we're looking for, and that type of thing. And they've seen all these things before, maybe not all in the same year, all in the same game, but, you know, we need to have a real consistency in handling their changing defenses in order to be successful against them.